The Momentary. At that time Mahamati, the great Bodhisattva, went on to entreat the Blessed One, let the Blessed One teach me, let the Blissful One teach me, about the activity and cessation of the clusters, media, and elements of sense. With no real self, whose is activity and cessation. Yet the unenlightened dwelling on activity and cessation do not find nirvana because they don't know the end of misery. The Blessed One said, then listen, Mahamati, and take it to heart accurately and aptly. I will tell you. Very well, Blessed One. So saying, Mahamati listened to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said this to him. The matrix of realization, Mahamati, the agent of good and bad, acts as the doer of all ways of life, like a dancer, confined to conditions, without self or possession. Due to lack of awareness of that, functional connection of a triplex combination of cooperating conditions takes place. But philosophers do not see this, adhering to presumptions of cause. Influenced by valueless impressions of various exaggerations since beginningless time. A permanent uninterrupted body called the receptacle consciousness operates, together with 7 consciousnesses born from the ground of the influence of ignorance, like waves on the ocean. Free from the problems of impermanence, not claiming self, it is ultimately pure by nature. As for those other consciousnesses, arisen and ceasing beginning with the intellect and cognitive consciousness. Momentary. 7 all dependent on different combinations of formations and appearances generated by the agency of imagination of the non-existent. Engrossed in names and signs. Perceiving the characteristics of forms of subjective mental objects. Not recognizing happiness and misery. Not producing liberation. Supports of the cause of the products and producer of passion arising from name and signs. In the terminal extinction of sense data obtained by them. Along with the known arising of others. The sense of liberation occurs to yogis who do not recognize pleasure or pain in their own mental calculations. Who have attained extinction of perception and sensation and are expert in the 4 meditations, truths, and liberations, by dint of non-function. In the receptacle consciousness that is not detached, however, known by the name of the matrix of realization, there is no extinction of the active 7 consciousnesses. Why is that? Because of operating as the causal support of the consciousnesses. The matrix of realization develops outside the range of awareness of all hearers. Solitary illuminates. And practitioners of religious disciplines. Because of their understanding of their own personal selflessness, because of grasping particular and common characteristics of the clusters, media, and elements. It ceases by perception of the objective selflessness in the nature of the 5 elements by disengagement through the process of the stages. It cannot be ascertained by the views of other religious paths. Thence, established in the immovable stage of bodhisattvas, one finds 10 entryways into the bliss of absorption. Restrained by the concentration Buddhas. Turning back from the existent limit of the bliss of absorption by observing their own commitment to the innumerable qualities of Buddhas. By means of paths of practice conducive to first-hand ultimate attainment unlike those of all hearers, solitary illuminates, and philosophers, they attain the path of 10 noble families, as well as a mental body of knowledge without the preparation of concentration. Hence, Mahamati, the matrix of realization is therefore to be purified as the receptacle consciousness by great bodhisattvas seeking higher meaning. For if, Mahamati, there were no matrix of realization called the receptacle consciousness, without the matrix of realization called the receptacle consciousness there would be no activity or cessation. But there is activity and cessation, Mahamati, for both the ignorant and the wise. And yogis who have not put down the burden and are invincible enjoy the bliss of the state experienced in first-hand ultimate attainment. Mahamati. This sphere of the matrix of realization, the receptacle consciousness, even while being naturally pure in the thought and vision of all hearers, individual illuminates, and philosophers, to them. Though not to the realized. It appears impure, due to being defiled by adventitious afflictions. To the realized, Mahamati, it is a matter of direct witness, like a piece of fruit in the palm of the hand. This is also indicated in the book of instruction regarding Sri Maladevi, by me and others, great bodhisattvas with subtle, sharp, purified intellects, to whom I resort. The matrix of realization, called the receptacle consciousness, together with 7 consciousnesses, the realm of the realized, is pointed out through Sri Maladevi to show the selflessness of phenomena to hearers engrossed in activity. It is not the domain of thought of hearers, solitary illuminates, and other philosophers and religious leaders. Instead, the domain of the realized, that is the matrix of realization. The domain of the receptacle consciousness, Mahamati, is for great bodhisattvas like you who discern with subtle sharp intelligence and resort to meaning. Not for all other philosophers and religious leaders, hearers, and solitary illuminates who adhere to a book of teachings literally. Thus, Mahamati, you and other great bodhisattvas should concentrate on this domain of all the realized, thorough knowledge of the receptacle consciousness as the matrix of realization. You should not be satisfied just hearing about it. So it is said. The matrix of the realized, furnished with 7 consciousnesses, goes into action alone due to grasping, ceases by way of thorough knowledge. It is seen like a reflection, mentally created by thought, intellect, etc. The appearance of substance is not substance to those who see as is. Just as the ignorant one fixed on the pointing fingertip does not apprehend the moon, so does one attached to the letter not know my truth. Thought dances like a dancer, intellect like a jester. Along with 5 consciousnesses, it arranges the perceived like a theatre. At that time Mahamati, the great bodhisattva, also entreated the Blessed One, let the Blessed One teach me, let the Blissful One teach me how to define the subdivisions of the 5 elements, nature, consciousness, and twofold selflessness. By which distinction of 2 kinds of selflessness I and other great bodhisattvas may actualize these teachings in the process of all the stages, so as to gain access to all teachings of Buddhas through those teachings, and by immersion in all teachings of Buddhas may enter the stage of first-hand attainment of the realized themselves. The Blessed One said, then listen, Mahamati, and take it to heart accurately and aptly. I will tell you. Very well, Blessed One. So saying, the great Bodhisattva Mahamati listened to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said this to him. I will tell you how to distinguish the 5 elements, nature, consciousness, and twofold selflessness. The 5 elements are name, appearance, imagination, true knowledge, and verity, entry into ultimate first-hand attainment of the realized. Beyond notions of eternity and annihilation, reality or unreality, the pleasure ground of attainment of bliss in the present, it becomes evident to practitioners in accord. There, Mahamati, imagination goes on in the naive, though not in the wise, due to not perceiving the non-existence of external things in the subjective percepts of the 5 elements, natures, consciousnesses, and twofold selflessness. Mahamati said, why then, Blessed One, does imagination go on in the naive, but not the wise? The Blessed One said, because of being engrossed in conventions of name and conception, Mahamati, the naive pursue thought. By various behaviors in this pursuit, with minds fallen into notions of self and possession, they become immersed in the multiplicity of appearances. And while so immersed, whirled about by ignorance, they get excited. Excited, they formulate action born of passion, hostility, and confusion. Doing so again and again. Minds wrapped up in their own subjective imagination like silkworms making cocoons, fallen into the seas and wilderness of mundane ways of life, like a water wheel they do not progress beyond. And they do not know, because of confusion, that all things are in essence like illusions, mirages, the moon in water, without imaginary self and possession, an expression of imagination of the non-existent, void of described and description. Not going through the course of destruction, origination, stasis, and whether originating from a deity, time, atoms, or primary matter, originate in construction of subjective mental objects. Like a companion of name and appearance, Mahamati, the naive follow appearance. Now this appearance, Mahamati, is what comes into the range of the I consciousness, known as form. Likewise, what is known to the ear, nose, tongue, body, and cognitive consciousness as sound, scent, flavor, feel, and phenomena, this I call appearance. Now imagination, Mahamati, is that by which one declares a name. This is what gives expression to appearance. It is this and nothing else. In what designates an elephant, horse, carriage, pedestrian, woman, man, and so on. That is imagination operating. True knowledge, Mahamati, is that whereby there is non-recognition of name and appearance. Because of their mutual adventitiousness, consciousness is not excited. Because of not causing one to fall into any of the stages of philosophers, hearers, or solitary illuminates, having neither annihilation nor eternity, it is called true knowledge. Also, Mahamati, it is by true knowledge that a great bodhisattva does not construe a name as an existent and does not construe appearance as non-existent. Consciousness in which objectification of name and appearance does not go on, free of the false views of dual extremes of attribution and denial, this state I call verity. Established in verity, Mahamati, by attainment of a realm without images, one attains the joyful stage of awakening. Having attained the joyful stage of awakening, one has turned away from the risky courses of all philosophers and entered into the course of transcendental truth. Meditating on the course of all phenomena. Beginning with illusion and the like. By examination of characteristics one seeks attainment of ultimate truth first-hand without interest in speculation or opinion. In an orderly progression all the way to the stage of cloud of teaching. With cloud of teaching, one attains the stage of the realized, blossoming with concentrations, powers, masteries, and superknowledges. Having attained that, in order to develop people to maturity, one radiates diverse emanations of light, like the moon. In water, teaching people bound in the spider's web of diverse beliefs. A body of truth apart from intellectual representation. This, Mahamati, great bodhisattvas attain by entering into verity. Mahamati then said, are the three natures within the five elements, or are they established by their own characteristics? The Blessed One said, the three natures are indeed herein, Mahamati, and so are the 8 consciousnesses and 2 kinds of selflessness. Now then, Mahamati, name and appearance are to be known as imagined nature. And that upon which? Mahamati. The operation of imagination called thought and associated mental functions depends. Arisen at once lie the sun with its rays, the nature of diverse characteristics that is the substratum of imagination, that nature, Mahamati, is called relative. True knowledge and verity, Mahamati, being indestructible, are to be known as absolute in nature. Furthermore, Mahamati, while engrossed in objects of subjective thought, imagination is split 8 ways. By ceasing the double grasping of self and possession because they are merely imagined, unreal characteristics of appearances, the 2 kinds of selflessness are realized. In these 5 elements, Mahamati, are contained all Buddha's teachings, including the differentiation and arrangement of the stages of hearers, solitary illuminates, and bodhisattvas, and the entry into first-hand ultimate knowledge. Again, Mahamati, the 5 elements are appearance, name, imagination, verity, and true knowledge. Of these, Mahamati, appearance is what is perceived in different configurations and shapes, such as form. What formulates conceptions, such as a picture, on the basis of appearance. It is this, nothing else. That is a name. That by which that name is proclaimed, expressing appearance or equivalency, that is imagination called thought and associated mental functions. The ultimate ungraspability of the name and appearance of all those things because they do not follow from one another and are imagined due to lack of comprehension, that is verity. Truth, actuality, certainty, completion, nature, essence, ungraspable. This is descriptive of verity, attained then suitably indicated, represented, revealed, and expounded by me and other realized ones. Having arrived there, with true understanding having neither extinction nor perpetuity, false imagination does not go on. Consistent with first-hand ultimate knowledge, inaccessible to sectarians or other factions, hearers, or individual illuminates. That is true knowledge. These are the 5 elements, Mahamati. Within these same 5 are 3 natures, 8 consciousnesses, 2 kinds of selflessness, and all Buddha's teachings. Here you, Mahamati, should develop your own intellectual skill, and also get others to do so. You shouldn't be led by others. So it is said. 5 elements, nature, 8 consciousnesses, and twin selflessness are all contained in the great vehicle. Name, appearance, and imagination are of 2 natures, true knowledge and verity are described as absolute. At that time Mahamati, the great Bodhisattva, went on to say this to the Blessed One, when it is said by the Blessed One in a record of instruction that the realized one's past, future,